Hello. So today we're going to learn how to paint landscapes in VR using atmospheric perspective to create depth. So this is a game called VRChat. It's free. You can play it on Steam or on your Quest, right? Whatever you have. I'm playing on Index. This world is called life drawing. Okay? And then basically what we're going to do is grab a canvas, grab a brush. I'm going to reset this one. And then what you want to do is the first thing you want to realize is this brush is not like a regular paintbrush. It has, if you press the trigger, a little menu. And this little menu allows you to do all types of things with picking colors by holding that trigger and touching that little red tip that comes out of the tip of your brush. You can't see it, but as you saw when my finger touched that red tip, it turned to black, the color of my glove. That also works for my skin color, or the tattoos, or the grass underneath me. Really, anything. Other people's avatars, other people's hair, whatever you want. But what we're going to do now to start is we're going to go to the alpha about halfway down. Now the alpha is like your opacity, or how much paint is distributed onto the canvas. So if it's all the way up and we put it on the canvas, it looks like that. If it's halfway, it looks like that. And if it's almost all the way down, almost no paint comes out at all. It's just for shading those little details or getting those little bits of dust in places. So we'll reset this. And then we're gonna take our brush again by holding the trigger, get to the menu, and then we're gonna take that round down to about the very bottom of that circle. And then we're gonna turn the alpha to about half, and then we'll start sketching. So basically what the first thing we're gonna put down is a vanishing point or a horizon, and not a vanishing point, just a horizon. Vanishing point, let's say it's right here, but we're not gonna be really using a linear perspective in landscape. We're gonna be using more atmospheric or aerial perspective. So we did it about a third of the way down. If you go by the rule of thirds, you probably want to divide your canvas into nice thirds. So I chose 1/3 to be sky, 1/3 to be, or 2/3 to be land. So we'll start by getting a nice blue down with, and I'm going to change to the flat brush and a nice big brush. And then I'm going to start covering the whole thing. Now I want to turn that alpha up because I want this to cover. In fact, I'm going to go all the way up. And what this is going to do is paint the sky, but we're not going to stop at the sky. We're going to keep going down all the way. And this way, when you have other colors on top, like your greens and grays for the land, they're going to have no white in the background. It's going to be nice and washed and covered. So I remember where the horizon is. So now we're going to take a nice lighter and paint right where that is. And we'll remember now. But just to start things off, to get a nice white, we're going to take white, put it down in the bottom here, but then we're going to turn the alpha down so we can find a middle color. Pick from that middle color, and then we can take from there and sort of paint in a little bit more white, and then we can color pick again and maybe get another mid-tone here. And then within these we can also find mid-tones between the two and paint those in like this. And one thing to keep in mind though, at this distance, the sky is the furthest thing from you. So there's not going to be really any details in the sky. It's going to be very washed out. So alpha low, you can even turn on wet to give it a little bit of flow to it, so it looks looser, because these sharp lines that are from the dry brush, but if you switch over to wet, suddenly everything becomes a lot looser, and it's going to push it right back into the background. Okay, so basically that's our horizon right there. We're good. We'll just take this white color and keep it pushing down Great. You wouldn't even see this horizon though because it's going to be covered by fog and there's no lines there whatsoever. So this right here already, seascape, done. Don't even have to do anything else. But, well, no, you would have to do other things. But we're gonna add land. So in order to do that, you have to remember the things that are closest to you have the most contrast, the warmest colors, and there's also more detail in things that are closer, and that's going to help push the things that are close towards you and push this sky back. So your darkest darks will be found close up. So we'll give a nice gray here. We're going to lay that in to where all the areas that would be in shadow are. We're going to find some nice dark shapes within the landscape here. And we're going to get those in early. Now, I'm doing it a little bit backwards. Like I said, you want to work from the furthest away to closer to you. But I think one thing that's important to understand, and it's going to be more visible in this front foreground, is you want to very early on figure out your light side and your dark side. And with that light side and dark side, you want to divide each shape or each rock or even each layer into really just two shapes. This big dark shape going all around and this big light shape. And I want to connect these even. Like it's all one shape, right? And that is going to give this nice blocky texture to it. And that's going to be very nice for later on putting in details. You don't want to fall into the trap of putting details in first and then going in and trying to figure out a light and a dark side. The sooner you do that, the better. One thing about trees, we're about to put a tree down right now. Trees are not brown. You might think they are, but they're not. They're actually gray. And some trees definitely have brown in them. But if you're going to draw them as a rule of thumb, don't draw them as brown, please. Draw them as gray. And then you can add in some nice browns as like a highlight or something. Right? But don't, if you go too ham with the brown, it's just, it looks flatter and not accurate. And you might be like, why does this tree look so weird? Maybe because it's not supposed to actually be brown. Okay, so this is just a simplistic start to a tree. We're not going to get too crazy with it. Next thing we want to add, we want to go back in space, right? Furthest away first. So let's get a nice gray or a green. Get that down, but then we're going to want to add some white to it. So let's take some white from the background actually. And then turn that down, mix the two together, and then pick from the middle. And that's going to actually be the color of the mountains back there, because that's much nicer. Now again, the light is coming from the left, up here, and streaming down this way. So this side of the hills will be lit up, and the right side will be in shadow, kind of like these rocks down here. And that's why I wanted to show here first, because it's much easier to see. They're going to be much more muted and further away in the background. It's going to be kind of hard to tell. Now, you remember this tree goes here. You can see the top of it that's up in the sky, so you're going to know to fill it back in later. But if you try to go around it, you're going to have problems. This is another lesson in why you should definitely first start at the back and then come forward, because the things that are in front might go over top of the stuff in the back. You want to get those done last. So I did it backwards, like I said. But that's all right. No accidents, right? So we're taking a little bit more saturation as we get closer. It's getting a little bit a little bit more, what's the word for it? A warm, and also maybe a little bit of yellow in there would look nice. Definitely. Oh, not there though. See that yellow, as soon as I put it back there, it pushed that whole hill forward. That would not work like that. No way, no way, no way. Okay, so we will cover this up like this. And now we're starting to see a lake to the right. And I didn't even know there was going to be a lake there. But I'll be damned if there's not a lake over there. That's definitely a lake. So we're going to basically find the coast of this lake. Remembering that this whole side over here is going to be in shadow. But it's also very misty and can't really see what it is. But then as we get closer, maybe these trees are starting to get a little, you're starting to see some popping up, some trees on the horizon there. Right? Then we'll take some of that green, get that in there. Remembering the light side is on the right even at this level. Okay, so now we're starting to see that there's a little bit of like texture. Okay. And remember, as we want that alpha all the way up now, because we want this to be very clear. Okay, and then basically what I'm doing now is just color picking and filling to finish it off and get it right up to the edge here. Okay, so now we can add that tree back in. As long as you're satisfied with the light and dark. So I would say probably I would add a little bit more dark to the sides of the trees. Figure out a way to get that a little bit more popping. Maybe also a little bit of gray just spackled in there. Try and get some shadow, especially towards the right side of things. Get some sense of depth in there. And then we're going to want to add like a nice highlight to the water. And this highlight is going to be in the direction of whatever the sun is. So I've just decided that the sun is right here, which makes no sense for this painting. So it's supposed to be over here, shining across this way, right? So we're going to have to figure out a way to have the light and this pattern coming from there across the water, coming down across the left, spraying across, right? Getting reflected up into our eyes. Theoretically, we'd be up high for this viewpoint. But yeah, let's see that. Gives it the water a little bit of depth to it as well. Kind of makes it kind of follow that vertex back to the vanishing point. There you go. Now, we should have a little bit more definition, or it should be a little more clear where the coast is here, because it's so close. We want to lose the edge as we get further back, but for here, it's going to actually help us to have a nice sharp edge. Maybe have some rocks. We're just adding some highlights to the rocks. Okay. So now we can go back and add the tree. We can always just color pick right from it again. So we don't have to worry about matching the colors. You just paint right back down where it was. We remember. And then we'll actually even add a little to that. Take this color. Hope I haven't been blocking with my head for too long. We can even add some tendrils of the... There you go. Have them come up and around the rocks. Down into the rocks. There we go. Okay. So you can see how we need a little bit more dark in this area up front. So I'm gonna finish that off and get those areas filled in, and then we're gonna add a little bit darker black, or darker green I should say, to the areas that would be real dark. And there's not too many of those. But they would be the underside of the rock here, all of the bits that would be the deepest dark. Find those, and then that's really gonna pop forward these rocks. You can do the same on the other side for the highlights. So you can go in and give some nice highlights to these rocks as well. And that contrast is gonna pop them out even more. At this point, you might be saying, these rocks look very pixelated, and to be honest, they don't look that good. But what we're gonna do is take a color in between, blend them, take a color, blend it, pick a color, blend it, and just keep doing that. Keep redefining that shape within that rock, and keep pushing for a smoother transition, and eventually you'll find yourself with a nicely rendered three-dimensional object. And that's because we put down those colors first in blocks, and then we came in with details and tried to smooth them. If you smooth first, you're gonna have problems. So you see that one rock is looking much better than the rest of them, and that's because it's finally been blended. Now you could do this for the rest of them. I'll spare you all that time, but the idea is each time you smooth it out, more and more of it is going to start coming together for you. And you can see already that right side of the rocks is really singing. But yeah, this is not a finished piece, but I hope you can take these principles and apply them to your work, whether that's in VR or traditional or digital. And yeah, if you would like to join in and paint along with me, I have painting events on Wednesdays and Saturdays in VRChat at 10 and 9 p.m. EST. And there's a Discord where you can share your work, and an active community with people that would be very supportive. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Really want to push VR art and get it out there, because I think it's a really cool opportunity, and it requires no cleanup, no setup, no commuting. All you need is a headset and work ethic, and you could get after it. And I think it's a good idea to have more people with a creative outlet. And yeah, I hope that this helps your paintings. Thank you guys. Bye.